There are two prerequisites or basic requirements that must be met before work on level 1 can begin: moving mechanics and rebounding techniques. You might say that this is how you get your white belt. If you can't move, then you can't play defense. So I've asked two experts on moving mechanics to help us out. Spencer Wood has 2 undergraduate degrees, a master's degree in exercise science from California University, and a PhD, ABD, in psychology with an emphasis in sports psychology. His workshops with championship teams at the U.S. Olympic Training Center, in professional leagues such as the NBA, and with multiple teams in the Big East, Big Ten, ACC, Big 12, Pac-12, and SEC conferences, have garnered international media coverage on networks such as NBC and ESPN. You can find out more about Spencer on his website at iceboxathlete.com.
Whenever we're talking about efficient defense, it's important to understand that all movement can be broken down into 3 planes of motion. There's forwards and backwards movement, sometimes called the sagittal plane. There's side-to-side movement, sometimes called the frontal plane. And there's rotational movement, sometimes called the transverse plane. And there are 3 muscle actions: acceleration, deceleration, and isometric stabilization. At a very high level, defense is played, obviously, using all 3 muscle actions and all 3 planes of motion. And why would we make this part of the introduction in terms of the movement part of defense? It's critical to understand that progressions, correct progressions, should be followed. We need to go from a stable base using just 1 or 2 planes of motion and 1 or 2 muscle actions, and eventually progress to an unstable base using multiple planes and multiple muscle actions. So in the early stages of our drills and skills, on the surface, the drills will seem very, very simple. However, this is necessary to correctly progress the athlete. If that is our foundation, what is our framework? What type of drills and skills we put on top of that foundation? One of the easiest ways to understand the framework is by looking at the acronym TANCS, T-A-N-C-S. A well-rounded collection of movement drills for defense will involve technique, acceleration, agility, neuromuscular training, core, cardiorespiratory condition, stabilization, and strength. Now, even though we're only going to be covering 5 or 6 drills for this defensive workout for speed, agility, quickness, again, it's important that within the context of a very, very safe progression, athletes have full medical clearance and they correctly follow those progressions before attempting some of the harder, more difficult drills. So one final thing we have to cover before we actually get started with the drills and skills is the ideal positioning that the body needs to be in for great movement and particularly for great defense. And what we want to be able to do is break the body down from the feet, on through the knees, on through the lumbo-pelvic hip complex. Now we're going to get Ryan in a defensive stance right now, so feet just a little bit wider apart, knees bent, in a comfortable athletic position. Anytime the body is moving, particularly on defense, we want to ensure that the feet, unless there are dramatic drop steps, we want to make sure that the feet are parallel and are aligned forward. You see some athletes on defense attempt to externally rotate their feet and sometimes internally rotate their feet. This can be both dangerous and inefficient. In the same manner, as we work our way up from the knees, from the feet to the knees, we see some athletes who have a tendency to adduct their knees in, or bow leg and abduct their knees out. Very, very efficient movement is parallel feet, parallel knees. But one of the biggest keys is what's going on in the lumbo-pelvic hip complex region, basically the hips. Now this is a critical area. There are 2 extremes that the hips can be in. One is called an anterior pelvic tilt, the other is called a posterior pelvic tilt. If the body is in one of these 2 positions, any movement that's generated from the upper body when an individual runs and that energy is transferred to the lower body, or from the lower body to the upper body, there is a very, very poor transition of energy. Another way of looking at it is you have an energy leak. The body will not move efficiently. And this is the same for when an individual is running, to when they're performing speed, agility, quickness drills, to when they're trying to play defense in the game of basketball. So it's very, very important to have what's called neutral hips, halfway between an anterior tilt and a posterior tilt. Well, what do these two incorrect positions look like, and what does the correct halfway position look like? We're going to take Ryan from a side view here and have him getting to a defensive stance, so knees bent in a nice athletic position, chest up, and we're going to have him exaggerate an anterior pelvic tilt. So we're going to really have him curve the back. Excellent. So this is an incorrect position. This is one extreme, an anterior pelvic tilt. Next, we're going to ask him to go into what's called a posterior pelvic tilt, where the back goes into kyphosis. So it rounds the hips, the shoulders fall forward, and the hips are pushed in. This position, sometimes called the Pee Wee Herman position, is also incorrect. The correct position is halfway between an anterior pelvic tilt and a posterior pelvic tilt. It's a nice athletic position where you've got a nice straight line right the way through the back and right the way through the hips. The final thing that any athlete needs to remember when playing defense or when being involved in any speed, agility, quickness drills that are going to help improve defense is having a tight core, having an activated core. And one way to think about doing this is actually taking an imaginary piece of string from Ryan's back all the way through to his belly button, his umbilicus, and pulling on that string and tightening that core. We want to make sure we have a nice tight core. We want to make sure our spines and our hips are in neutral position. We want to make sure our knees are aligned and our feet are aligned. Excellent. The final thing to talk about is correct foot strike. It's a common myth that an athlete should stay on his or her toes to react very, very quickly. The sweet spot for any part of the foot strike, whether you're playing defense or involved in speed, agility, quickness drills to improve defense, the sweet spot of the foot strike should be right on the balls of the feet. When you have a shoe, and this is a fairly new shoe, but when you have a shoe that's been worn a little while and you have a very efficient athlete who's been wearing that shoe, you'll typically see this part of the foot more worn versus any other parts of the feet. The most power that can be generated through the body is through this area. What propels the body forward is basically called ground reaction force. It's based on the principle that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And so we want to be able to generate as much force through the body and through the balls of the feet as possible. So correct foot strike is very, very important for each one of our drills. So the first part of this drill is called a reverse lie down. A couple of important reasons why we're doing this. We're actually going to start out with you on your stomach facing the opposite direction, and it's going to force you to actually accelerate from a knees bent crouch position. It's actually going to help you to slowly come out of the pocket from knees bent and slowly begin to raise your body up. The second thing we're doing is making sure that we plant laterally on that explosion. So much great defense in basketball is obviously based on lateral movement and lateral explosion. So certainly working on defense, the essence of functional training is if you want to jump higher, you practice jumping. You want to play great defense, you practice defense. But there are also some additional agility drills and some acceleration drills to help kind of maximize your development, and this reverse lie down is one of them. But we're going to make it as basketball specific as possible, because after this reverse lie down, I want you to accelerate all the way through to the 13 marker. Okay. I want you to rapidly decelerate as if you're closing out an opponent, as if you have a shooter all the way over on the three-point line, but this shooter is also a great slasher. So you can't close out just to get a run by and a hand in their face. You have to close out in a way that can fully slow your momentum, that you can get a hand in their face if necessary, but also prevent them from driving right by you. So what's the number one rule of deceleration? Always drop your hips. Number two rule, shorten your strides. You see a lot of injuries occurring in the game of basketball when someone tries to decelerate and they overstride when they're decelerating versus taking short, choppy steps. So we want to make sure that when we close out, we lower our hips, we take short, choppy strides, and we actually want to throw our momentum back from our upper body. Okay. So it's almost like putting an extra set of brakes on the wheels. So as you're moving forward, if you're able to throw your momentum back as you close out the individual and get to a point where you time that closeout. So again, if necessary, you can get a hand in their face, but if they were to drive by you, if they're a great slasher, you're able to recover. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let's see what it looks like. Know that if you don't get to the second cone soon enough, someone's going to stick a 3 right in your grill that's going to win the game for the team. So you have to balance getting to that second cone and that closeout as quickly as possible, but not so much that you couldn't initially right away react. Yeah, if they literally blow by you, you want to be able to react. And your close
cone as fast as I can, but under control.
under control. Your closeouts were technically correct, but just not quick enough. Okay. Not for your type of athlete, you know, which is a stellar athlete, right? So, ready, set, go. Excellent, much better. That was good. Obviously, everything we do for the right, we'd want to do for the left. So if this were a full workout, our next drill will be off the left foot. Okay, so Ryan, on this next drill, we want the exact same acceleration right out of the pocket. First 3 steps sound like a drum machine, bam, bam, bam. When you hit the first cone, you're going to rapidly decelerate. You're going to do a defensive closeout. And again, the 3 rules of closeout: drop the hips, short choppy strides, and reverse the upper body momentum. And then you're going to hit an Icky Shuffle. And what we're doing here now, we're going to be moving in 2 planes of motion in this ladder. Forwards and side-to-side motion, okay? Going to start off exploding off of your right leg, so you're going to turn towards me when you explode. Ready, set, go! Excellent. Okay, this time now we're going to switch the drill. Same explosion out of the pocket. First 3 steps are the most important. You're going to explode off your left leg this time.
Gotcha.
Rapidly decelerate on a closeout. 3 closeout techniques. Drop the hips, short choppy strides, reverse the upper body momentum. And now we're going to hit 3 planes of motion on the ladder. So it's like the Icky Shuffle, the 1, 2, 3s, except each time we're going to get a kickback and rotation. 1 in, kickback, rotation. 1 in, kickback, rotation. Perfect. Picture perfect. Picture perfect. That's it. That's it. That's the pattern. Let's see what it looks like. Off the left leg. Ready, set, go. Good job. Missed 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, no big deal. We'll do it again. Ready, set, go. Excellent. So here we've obviously got 3 plyometric hurdles, Ryan. Our goal for plyometrics is neuromuscular efficiency. Our goal is power. Obviously, you combine power and technique, you've got a much better defensive player. So our goal in using these plyometric hurdles is to generate as much force through the balls of our feet. But in between these hurdles, I want you to treat the ground like the surface of the sun. So as soon as you touch and explode, you jump. As soon as you touch and explode on the floor, you jump, okay? I want the knees to come up to the chest in between hurdles, and our goal is maximum height. Even though this is a fairly high height, for your caliber of athlete, should be able to handle this just fine. But for most, this will be a fairly high hurdle height. But I don't want you to use this as your target. I want you to go as high as you can between all 3 hurdles. But on the first drill, I actually want to slow things down for our viewers and have you land and just pause. Okay, you're going to land softly, just pause, so I can demonstrate, we can explain how the feet, the knees, and the hips should be aligned. Okay, let's see you step and go over the first hurdle. Okay, let's do over. That's all right. Not used to pausing. Not used to pause in between. Not an easy thing to do. So we're going to have you go over the first hurdle and then pause. Excellent. Okay, so if we look at Ryan's, and I'm going to have you do this one more time. Okay, look at your feet. And do you see the way your knees were kind of adducted in? Mm-hmm. So I want you to literally go over the first hurdle, and this is me without a warm-up. as my mic will fly all over the place. Land softly, knees aligned, feet aligned, hips aligned, okay? Good. So we have a good solid landing, softly on the balls of the feet. Feet are aligned, knees are aligned, hips in a neutral position. So this is going to be our landing mechanics, but obviously Ryan's not going to spend so much time on the ground. As soon as he touches, he's going to explode to the next hurdle.
So no pause in between.
No pause in between. As soon as you hit that last hurdle, I'm going to allow you just to run forward slightly, okay? Allow your momentum just to carry you forward. All right, Ryan, so now we're going to make things very interesting. Here's what we want. We want the same power generated. We want the same very quick transition, sometimes called amortization phase, to be just as explosive between the hurdles. And as soon as you hit the last hurdle, I want you to explode backwards with a run back, get back to the line, 3 more hurdles, explode backwards in the other direction, and come back to the starting spot.
Okay, so back around. Gotcha.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're getting a little bit more functional, a little bit more specific to defense. Explode, explode back. When we run backwards, it's the same technique that we use for a closeout. The rules are drop the hips, short, choppy steps. Let's see what it looks like.
Back pedal, full speed back.
Back pedal, full speed back. As soon as you get behind the line, straight into it again. 1, 2, 3, explode back, left side. Explode. Good. Way to drop the hips. Nice job. Short, choppy steps, drop the hips. Excellent job. Very nice job. So now we're going to be generating neuromuscular efficiency, some power in 2 different planes of motion. 2 forward high jumps, and then 10 very, very crisp, sharp lateral jumps. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Excellent job. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Explode back. Move, 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 move. Good job. Now get up. Get off your feet. Excellent. 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Excellent job. Very nice job. One of the great things about this drill is it involves a number of components that you see in any game defensively. It forces you to generate an extreme amount of power laterally. It forces you to show great agility in terms of the ability to accelerate, decelerate, stabilize, and move in another direction, basically the definition of agility. It forces you to work very, very hard, so it's tough on your cardiorespiratory conditioning, your endurance, and most of all, it causes you to have to think while you're very, very fatigued. Also critical for great defensive play. So Ryan, this is one of our tougher exercises. We're looking at, this one's called hurdle agility. And what we're looking at is a number of different instructions. You're going to start out in rapid defensive foot fire. As soon as you hear the instruction right, you're going to slide to your right, physically touch the disc, come back to the position, rapid foot fire. Whenever you hear left, you have to laterally jump over the hurdle. Okay, I want some lateral power generated. Slide over, hit the left disc, slide on back, foot fire here. Whenever you hear sky, I want you to jump as high as you can, as quickly as you can, and then keep foot firing. Whenever you hear ground, touch ground, both feet, both hands, and rapid foot fire.
Okay.
Last instruction, whenever you hear hurdle, continuous jumps until you hear otherwise.
Gotcha.
Now, this one's tough for a number of reasons. It's not only working neuromuscular power, and it's not only working agility, it's hitting your cardiorespiratory conditioning, some endurance involved, and also getting you to think while you're fatigued. Okay, get in position. Okay, just a second. One important thing to remember, and for the viewers of this DVD, is that rest ratios when you're working speed, agility, quickness are very, very important. Typically, to maximize power, you're in the ATP CP system, adenosine triphosphate, creatine phosphate, sometimes called the phosphagen system. Now, this energy system typically requires a 1:5 to 1:12 rest ratio for full recovery. But we're not giving Ryan a full chance to recover here as we go from drill to drill to drill. But just know that to maximize speed, agility, quickness, we want full recovery. However, this drill can also be used as a great conditioning tool. We're combining some conditioning, endurance, and explosive power training. All right, get ready, Ryan, and foot fire. Floor, 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 sky, sky, right, good, right, sky, floor, hurdle, left, floor, sky, right. Excellent, good. Woo! So this is called diamonds. Part A, Part B. The first part is we're only ever going to be working 4 discs at a time. The instructions you can hear are forward, where you're going to rapidly move forward, touch the disc, get back to your home base, which is a foot fire, left, as rapidly as possible, right, sliding, as rapidly as possible, defensive slide back, back to foot fire, back, drop step, slide, come back to position, foot fire. So you can go forwards, back, right, left. If you ever hear the command, turn, you get to do a 180, and now you're working this one left, this one right, this one forward, this one back.
All right, so the back, the drop step.
Yes.
And am I touching every cone with the hand?
Every cone with a hand.
Gotcha.
Yep. I want to make sure defensively you're low enough to touch every cone with a hand. Because when you're tired, what do athletes tend to do? Stand up. Okay. So the fact you're touching these discs with a hand means you've got to be low enough in your defensive stance to touch every disc.
So every time I'm back here, I'm foot firing.
You're foot firing. So it's very, very tough. Now this is going to be rapid fire. You're going to hear left, right, back, forward, back, left, right, turn. And when you turn, obviously, now you've got 2 new lefts and rights into play.
Gotcha.
So this is really going to cause you to, force you to have to think very, very quickly, literally on your feet.
Hash mark every time.
Yes, yeah. That's roughly your middle.
Let's do it.
All right. Get into a defensive stance. Foot fire, and begin. Good, good. Let's move, let's move, let's move. Left. Let's move. Good. Don't cross those feet. Right. Excellent. Left. Excellent. Forward. Very good. Forward. Let's move, Ryan. Forward. Very good. Left. Left. Back. Drop step. And time. Recover. We'll go again. Nice job. Get in the defensive stance, Ryan. And chop the feet. Quick feet. Good. Left. Excellent. Left. Good. Left. Front. Front. Right. Back. Good. Turn. Left. Turn. Right. Right. Turn. Front. And time. Nice job. That's a toughie. Part B of this is called opposites. It's one of the most difficult drills you can do defensively because it really forces you to think when you're in a very fatigued state. Every instruction that we give, the athlete is actually going to be doing the opposite. Every time we say front, he's got to move back. Every time we say left, he's got to move right. Every time he says right, we've got to move left. So it really causes you to think and react very, very quickly at a point of maximum fatigue while you're infusing some great agility and some great power movement. What's going to make this more challenging, I'm going to throw as much at you as I can mentally. So, in addition to your forwards and back, left and right, turn, obviously, you're just going to turn, okay? That's the only command that's going to stay the same. But I'm going to add to. Whenever I say sky, I want you to hit the ground. Whenever I say ground, I want you to sky.
So now we're adding that. We're adding sky and ground to this as well.
Absolutely. Yep. The only command that stays the same is your turn. All right. Foot fire and begin. Right. Excellent. Very good. Right. Very good. Left. Very good. Left. Sky. Good. Sky. Ground. Good. Ground. Forwards. Excellent. And back. Yeah, boy. Good. Left. Turn. Left. And time. Excellent job.
This is Greg O'Connor, owner of Champion Sports Performance. We're located in Cornelius, North Carolina, just north of Charlotte. We are pleased today to be hosting Better Basketball as they shoot their latest video that will help thousands and thousands of kids across the country and around the world become better basketball players. Champion Sports Performance is located in Cornelius, North Carolina, and we are the leader in sports performance training in the Charlotte area. We are just pleased and thrilled to have trained over 500 athletes in our first 10 months of operation. At Champion Sports Performance, we teach speed and we teach confidence.
Dustin Duchamp is a certified speed, agility, and quickness coach and a member of the Better Basketball staff. He's going to take you through the drills needed to improve the mechanics that your players already have.
I'm going to take you through two areas of a speed, agility, and quickness routine that will help you become a better defensive player. I'm going to show you drills to improve your overall mechanics when a player moves laterally or side to side, and then we will work on quickness drills for side to side reactions and a first step explosion. As we go through all these drills, only a few should be excluded from the really young players, and I'll point these out as we go through them. Since we are improving mechanics and the ability of our brain to fire to our muscles, there will not be a lot of stress on the younger player like lifting weights. That is almost why all of these drills can be done on a daily basis. One thing to remember for every drill is that to achieve maximum improvement, the player has to go full speed. I've never used these drills for conditioning. If a player feels fatigued, let them rest until they can go full speed. Remember, we are trying to get the brain to fire faster to the muscles. First, we are going to start with the quick foot ladder. If you only take one thing away from all these drills, I hope it's the ladder. The ladder is 22 feet long, and each square is 16 inches by 16 inches. If you do not want to buy one, lay one down in your area with tape. Based on how much time you have, I'd like to have each player do each movement down and back, but one time down is sufficient. The ladder will improve your overall athleticism. It will improve your quickness off the floor, your mechanics whether you're moving side to side or straight ahead, your balance and coordination, and it will increase your range of motion since we are now stretching through movement. All of these are reasons why I think our youngest players should be doing this drill. This can be done every day, and I would like to see coaches stop having their players jog around the gym and then go into static stretching. The latter is the best way to warm up before stretches are performed. Once a player knows each movement, it it will only take 10 to 15 minutes to use this as a warm-up for games or practice. We're going to work on the range of the motion of the ankle and more powerful push off the ground. The body will stay in a straight line with the shoulders staying over the feet. Raise the toes as high as possible and then slam the balls of feet into the ground. Maintain the skip and then raise the toes again. You'll step 1 foot in each box. This will help warm up the hip. Keep the upper body still and swing your leg out to make a circle. The leg will stay straight. As soon as your foot leaves the ground, raise the toe up so we keep on working on the range of the motion of the ankle and create a good push off the ground. Put 1 foot in each box and land in the middle of the box. When we run in a straight line, we should drive the knee up and out and the foot should be under the knee with the toe up. Keep good posture and drive the elbows back. For the range of the motion of the hip, lift the knee to the hip, try to keep the foot under the knee and the toe goes up. The athlete's foot should feel flat in the air. For the first couple of squares, lift the knee up to the hip, then lower your hips and lean forward to go faster. While maintaining the skip, keep the feet low to the ground for faster push-offs. Now we want to change the angle of the hip. Again, working on the range of motion. Mechanics will be the same as our previous high knee skip, where we drive the knee up toward the hip, foot under the knee, and the toe up for a greater push-off. Start by driving the knee up and then drop down for a faster push-off. Keep pushing forward with 1 foot per box. Without using our skip, we are going to hop into every box. The heel should never touch, and the athlete needs to land and push off as fast as possible. Push toward the end of the ladder, but do not jump up. That's going to slow you down. We want the feet to be as low as possible so the next movement happens as quick as possible. For balance, keep the opposite knee next to the working leg. Shoulders should be over the feet with a slight lean. Now skip a box to create more speed. There will be a big body lean, so the player needs to work on their balance. Before you start, get a good stance by bending the knees and lowering the hips. Run through the ladder, placing both feet in each box. As soon as you hit the ground, get a quick push off the floor. It doesn't matter what foot you lead with, and the arms will help speed up your feet, so get good hand and elbow movement. With the same mechanics, now plant 1 foot per box. The most important thing an athlete needs to remember is simply be as fast as possible off the floor. 1-2-1 forward, or the Icky Shuffle. Lower your body to a good athletic stance and start on one corner of the ladder. The hips and shoulders will stay the same height throughout the drill. The upper body will always stay over the ladder while the feet do all the work. To learn the footwork, count to yourself. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. When a foot steps outside the ladder, it should stay close to the ladder so we maintain good balance. Once the footwork is learned, each step should happen as fast as possible. Stance should stay the same as moving forward. The foot pattern is the same. Whichever foot is inside the ladder starts the movement by stepping into the next box. Get into a good defensive or athletic stance at the beginning of the ladder. While maintaining the stance, we are going to land and alternate our feet as we push through the ladder. Don't jump high because we want our next step to happen quickly. Push toward the end of the ladder. Start with your perfect defensive stance. When you move to your right, your left leg should push you in that direction and the right leg reaches to the next box. Steps should happen as fast as possible off the ground. The hips and shoulders should stay on the same level throughout. When you move to your left, your right leg should push as your left leg reaches. Get into your defensive stance. When you start moving, step into the ladder with 1 foot. You'll alternate right and left feet as you move down the ladder. Rotate the hips to create the speed. Good. Keep it going. Good. Get into your defensive stance. When you move to the right, your right foot should lead and start the movement. To maintain your balance, keep your body above the line of the ladder and the foot pattern should stay close to that line. Short steps. Good. You will plant 1 foot per box. Hip rotation is important to move as quickly as possible and be able to plant your feet in each box. With the next 5 drills, we are going to combine the ladder drills with the tennis ball drop. The tennis ball drop is used to help improve the first step explosion. As the athlete moves through the ladder, the mechanics will be the same as the previous section. However, as the athlete approaches and lands in the last box, they are going to sprint and catch the tennis ball. The key is going to be a powerful push off the ground without any hesitation. The person dropping the ball should drop it as the athlete's foot is landing in the box. If the ball is caught, the person should take a step back, creating more distance to challenge the athlete. Keep doing this until the ball cannot be caught. Ready? Butt down. Quick and quiet off the ground. Go. Go quick. I mentioned earlier that one of the best things about the ladder is that it can be used by any age group. With the addition of this piece of equipment, I would wait until the athlete is around 12 years old. Even though speed and quickness gains will happen only using the ladder, at some point you should consider buying this to help gains occur at a more rapid rate. A coach or parent should be the one holding the rubber cord. The athlete should get into a proper stance, and the coach should create enough tension at the beginning that will be challenging throughout the ladder. The tension will force the athlete to create a quick, powerful push off the ground to overcome the force. If the athlete has to pause when they hit the ground, or if they have to muscle their way through, the tension is too much. The hurdles are 6 inches high and are spread out using 6 hurdles. I place them one step apart, but the distance between the hurdles will be based on the height of the players. If you do not want to buy the hurdles, use a cone, a shoe, anything that will trigger the brain to have the hip pick up the knee to emphasize the mechanics. Again, if time is an issue, modify the repetitions so that you get through all of the movements. For me, 3 sets of 6 reps is ideal. 1 rep is 1 trip down the hurdles. After a set, rest until you can go full speed. Get into a proper defensive athletic stance. When moving to your right, the left leg will push you as the right leg reaches. When the right leg moves and reaches, the hip picks up your knee and the foot should stay as close to under the knee as possible. When the knee lifts and the foot comes up off the ground, the toes should go up. This again will help us spring off the ground as quickly as possible. When the athlete steps over the hurdle, the biggest mistake is the foot kicking toward the butt. We want our foot to barely clear the hurdles so our next step can happen as quickly as possible. As they move through the hurdles, the hips and shoulders should stay on the same level. If they go up and down, the athlete is galloping and they need to work on the push off the ground being equal from both feet. When moving to the left, everything is the same, except the right leg is our force and it's pushing us down the hurdles. After the athlete completes the reps to perfect the mechanics of moving laterally, we need to add a cutback. In a game, if the person I'm playing defense on crosses over and tries to beat me, I need to be able to stop myself immediately, cut back, and try to cut them off. Whether you are moving to the left or to the right, when your reach leg clears the last hurdle, it needs to plant on the ball of the foot and start our push back to where we started. When that foot plants to stop our movement, our knee, hip, and shoulder should stay inside our plant leg. If our body is not controlled and moves outside our plant foot, our momentum will cause us to stutter step to regain our defensive stance. The inner leg should be elevated off the ground. If it is left on the ground, this will slow us down because we have to pick it up anyway to start our next movement. This is a simple quick foot drill to enforce being quick off the ground while maintaining a good defensive stance. The hurdles are placed one step apart. Just like the ladder drill with the same footwork, start slow and count out the steps. 1, 1, 2, 1. Once the pattern is down, speed up the steps. The mechanics are the same moving through the hurdles. You have two options of when to sprint and catch the ball. When you get to the end of the hurdles, you can either plant your reach leg in between the last two hurdles or wait till you clear the last hurdle. Just like the athlete did on the ladder, once the leg plants, rotate and pivot as quickly as possible and sprint to catch the ball. To change the angle of the sprint, the ball dropper should stand out in front of the last hurdle. After the athlete plants, they need to push off the plant leg and drive the opposite leg toward the tennis ball. I mentioned this earlier, but this is one aspect I would not do every day. I would use the cord 2 to 3 times per week. Just like when we added the rubber cord to our ladder drills, we want to maintain a perfect defensive form and add a faster, more powerful push off the floor to overcome the resistance. The athlete should minimize leaning toward the end of the hurdles and rely on the power of their push. After 3 or 4 trips with the cord on, the athlete should take the cord off and do 2 reps without it. They will feel an explosion down the hurdle, and they will need to maintain their balance and quicken their feet. This is the one area where the young athlete should not take part. To me, anyone under 13 years old should not do them. Even at an older age, if the athlete is a little overweight, they should not do them. The purpose of these drills is to increase the rate of force being produced by the muscle. With this much force being produced, it can be a stress on the joints, especially if done incorrectly. The landing is the key. If the athlete can stick and land quietly on the balls of the feet, with proper knee placement over or just behind the toes, they can proceed and go up in height. I would start with a low box of 8 inches and work up from there. Really regulate this drill. I would do it once per week for a couple of weeks and go up if the athlete is doing it properly. During a single training session, there should be a total of 20 ground touches. Break it into sets of 3 to 5 with rest in between. Here are 2 easy add-on drills that help improve the player's ability to push off the floor. One is a simple line drill. The athlete will stand with their feet together, knees slightly bent, and jump over the line. The tension on the cord will force them to need a powerful push off the ground. Balance it out by having tension on both sides with an equal amount of reps. The second drill is a traditional lane drill with the cord. I like to have the athlete shorten their strides to enforce using only the balls of their feet. Again, anytime we use the elastic cords, do the drill a couple of times without it on so we can get used to the faster speed. On the box drill, the cones are 4 to 5 steps apart in each direction. The cones are labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. Have the athlete defensive slide moving across. They backpedal when they go from 1 to 4 and from 2 to 3. If they move diagonally, they will drop step, open the hips, and go into a defensive slide. They will always need to have their chest facing straight ahead. I emphasize the chest facing forward as if they are facing the offensive player they are guarding. 2, 3, 2, 4, 3. Place the cones 4 to 5 steps apart in a straight line. Moving left to right, label them 1, 2, and 3. Again, you will randomly call out the numbers for the athlete. Mix up doing a defensive push step on the cones that are close together and add a sprint when they go from 1 to 3 or 3 to 1. Our goal with the tennis ball drop is to eliminate a false step when an athlete starts a movement. A false step is a negative movement usually used to gain balance or get into a better position to move. We want to give the athlete the mechanics, reaction, and confidence to move immediately. The first one is from a sprint position. We will align the athlete like a sprinting stance in track. From this stance, as soon as the coach or parent drops the ball, the athlete should push off of their front foot. The back leg drives to the ball. When you are evaluating the movement, look to see if the back foot moves back initially or if the front foot moves at all. This will be the hardest one to master. Get into a proper defensive stance. Once the ball is dropped, push off with whatever foot you want. The opposite knee will drive to the ball. The false step will be clear here. There will typically be a big step backwards or they will lose their balance. The last tennis ball drop is to improve our ability to open our hips and move into a sprint. Get into a defensive stance and face away from the tennis ball. When the person with the tennis ball yells ball, drop step or open up enough where you can see the ball, then sprint through the ball.
They often say that play doesn't end until a rebound has been secured. So a rebound is really part of whatever the original play is. And so often players treat the rebound like, well, the shot's up, it's all over, I'll sprint to the other end of the floor, I'm sloppy on my checkouts, or whatever. So great offensive and defensive rebounding techniques are so important, and that's why we made this a portion of our film for you to look at. Please take it seriously. Remember, the play doesn't end until the rebound is secured. Every offensive rebound that's secured may cost you anywhere from a half a point to a point, so it's important.
That's right. I'm placing rebounding in the prerequisites of playing defense because defense isn't over until you've rebounded. If you don't steal the ball, rebounding is the bookend of every defensive possession. First, let's define what's inside and what's outside. When I refer to the inside, I'm talking about the war zone, that 10-foot square around the basket. Outside simply means anywhere outside the war zone. When a shot goes up, every defender will be required to wear bows or a cap. If you're in the war zone, then you must wear your bows. What's a bows? It's a reminder to block out in the war zone. The war zone requires a block out, and that means your power base on your opponent's power base. Your coach will probably have a technique that he or she likes to teach, and these techniques usually boil down to one of these two: step through or punch through, or reverse pivot. A good player should learn both, and here's two examples why. You're defending the shooter in the war zone. After getting your hands up on the shot, it's very easy to continue this motion and step through for the block out. If your opponent's on the weak side, then it's easier to reverse pivot than it is to face your opponent and step through. Are there exceptions? Of course, and that's why it's advantageous to be able to do both. Regardless of which way you get into the block out, the most important part follows the block out, and that's pursuing the ball. Some coaches will tell you that you should be able to hold the block out until the ball hits the floor in the middle of you and your teammates. I don't think that's a negative message, but I sure don't think it's a positive and aggressive rebounding mentality. I think you should block out and pursue the ball. Don't assume a teammate's going to get the rebound. Have that attitude that shots on the goal are simply passes to you. You get what's yours. There is no technique for pursuing the ball. There's just your DNA. Dadgum nasty attitude. Outside the war zone, blocking out will get you a foul. Besides that, it's easy for an offensive player to go around you when you try to block out on the outside. Do you remember what your mom said when you wanted to go outside to play in the cold weather? Always wear your cap. Check, arc, and pursue. The check position places the line of your shoulders or feet at 90 degrees to your opponent. A hand or a forearm on the torso is enough to act as a feeler. This allows you to snap your head to the goal and make a quick read on the path of the ball. If your opponent does not pursue the ball, then you can release the check and pursue the ball the moment it hits the rim. Remember, DNA. If your opponent pursues the ball, then your forearm can help you arc your opponent away from a straight line pursuit of the ball. When the ball hits the rim, you can release the check and pursue the ball. The checkout position keeps you between the ball and your opponent. If your player is stronger than you and gets into the war zone, then you switch from the arm bar to the power base to power base position. If your opponent releases toward the half line, then my suggestion is to sprint to the closest free throw line elbow. From there, you can chase down rebounds that are outside of the war zone. This is also a good position to chase down three-point shots taken from the other side of the floor. The longer the shot, the longer the rebound. Now, you've left the floor and both hands have secured the ball. What now? On your way down, you must rebound like a quarterback. Get three-point contact. Two hands plus a third contact against your chest or shoulder, and when your feet hit the floor, face snap to your goal. Good players always look up the floor for open teammates, but this also allows you to quickly assess other possibilities. 1. Is a defensive press forming? 2. Is there a quick outlet close by? 3. Is there space to dribble the ball up the floor? The difference between caps and bows can be seen with this drill. One offensive player is outside and the other offensive player is in the weak side post position. The outside player takes a shot. The outside defender must cap him. The inside defender must practice the hardest habit of all, to step away from the goal and block out. The drill rotates when the defenders roar, rebound, outlet the pass, and run. You could start this drill with a closeout, very good. You could start this drill with a shot from triple attack position. Very good. You could start this drill with a pull-up shot in the mid-range. Very good. Coach Chad Warner at Shorten University in Rome, Georgia, gave this drill to me. It's actually a drill that combines levels 0, 1, and 2. The drill starts with your level 2 position of denying the pass into the post. If the pass is delivered, then you must switch to level 1 and defend the ball in a way that keeps it out of the highway. If the shot is taken, then you must block out and rebound. Each player goes twice before rotating because the coach is going to skip the pass at least once. This requires the defender to jump into his level 2 weak side position and then to block out and rebound just like our previous drill. Okay, you've qualified for your white belt. You can move not only like an athlete, but with the efficiency of a smart basketball player. And you can rebound from any position and help your team transition to offense. You're now ready to start work on becoming a level 1 defender.